What up, people? It is your boy DP Brown with my man T-Mitch on the Nerd Comic Flick Show. All right, what's going on with you, T-Mitch?
I'm doing good, man. Doing good. Excited to be back here on the Nerd Comic Flick Show and ready to discuss, some all things Marvel and some interesting topics. I
Yeah.
can't wait to get going again, guys.
Oh man, it's a beautiful thing. So it's the two of us right here. We're gonna have my man Duche come in, later in the hour and everything. He's gonna come in with his 2 cents. But right now you got us two. So we got some good stuff going on here. So right off the bat, I just want to make sure that you guys know where to find us. Nerdcyclopedia.com. Make sure that you are going to our site. You will find all our links there at Nerdcyclopedia. Make sure that you are following us at Nerdcyclopedia on Twitter, Facebook, and also on Instagram. Leave us some feedback. Nerds at nerdcyclopedia.com. We love getting your feedback and also giving you feedback and everything. So we round a whole gamut as far as that. If you are watching us on YouTube and on Facebook, or especially on YouTube, make sure that you're hitting that subscribe button and also that notification button. So anytime that we're on, you know that we're on. If you're watching us on Facebook, make sure that you are subscribing to our groups. Shout outs to the Carbonite Bounty BS people, SC Hitch, and also Governor Tarkan. Shout out to that crew. We got some really great Star Wars content coming up. The Boba Fett show is coming out. You excited about that, Trent?
Oh man, I've been itching, itching at the teeth. It's
Oh
been a
man,
long time, so it's
yeah.
about time to get going again with that stuff.
Oh yeah, that's gonna be some good stuff. So we got that coming up. So the first episode of that comes up. We got my man Duche in the house. All right, let me go ahead and get him into the game. If I can find my mouse. Duche,
I am on this show.
What is going on with you, buddy?
What is up, my people? Trenton, how we
What's
doing,
going
man?
on, man? How you doing? Good. I'm doing good, man.
Long time no see, man.
I know. It's nice to see you again, man.
Pleasure. And I like meeting on these terms.
Oh yeah,
right.
It's all good. Hey, can we get any more light on your face there, bub? Is that the best you got?
Nope. I got my. Hold on, we're working on it.
If he pulls his O-ring out too, man, I'm about to snap. Come on, has he got one too?
What?
You got the ring too, man?
That blinded me.
Yeah. And look, he got his Mighty Marvel shirt on. That's all good. But just to finish this out, we got my man Duche in the house. I thought he was going to be later in the hour, but he decided to join us now. So it's all good. So we are ready to talk about the Spider-Man No Way Home. So the first like half an hour, I want to do non-spoilers. I just want to get like our general thoughts of the movie. I know it's going to be hard, difficult, and everything, but we're gonna we may not go the whole half an hour and not talking about spoilers, but let's just get our general thoughts on what we thought of like the actual just movie itself. So let's just get right into it. T-Mitch, go.
Well, I think me and the D usually when we get on the show usually have similar opinions, but I'm spoiler free wise. I'm gonna say it was a well-written movie. Beginning to end, there was plot there, good action in spurts, but I would say watching my first watch, I've seen it twice. My first watch, I was like, yeah, it's gonna be a 9 out of 10. I mean, Rotten Tomatoes, it was like damn near 100%. Second time I watched it, which is more recent, kind of calmed down, realized what the movie was. Thought it was all right. I would give it a solid 7.5 out of 10. It's not in my top three overall Marvel Cinematic Universe movies. Off the bat, I did say it was, but as we get into this, good movie. Just missed the point in some key areas, I thought.
Interesting. All right, how about you, Duche?
I mean, I go back and look at like Spider-Man has always been my favorite Marvel character ever since I was young. It's always been Spider-Man, at least for the Marvel side, right? And as movies go, if you're a Spider-Man fan, there's no way you do not like. And like this movie is just well put together. as a Spider-Man movie. Like it has every component that you expect from a Spider-Man movie. It goes from the humor, the silly banter, the wisecrack Spider-Man always has, to the tragedy, to the tragedy that he has to overcome and everything. So it's just a well put, well together, well written Spider-Man movie, and Sony is very lucky that MCU really needed the Spider-Man in this. So Sony's just printing its own money and thanking MCU right now because they just can't do wrong. I mean, you look at the numbers that they put up, in these COVID era, breaking records, and it's still sold out throughout the year. I mean, it's exactly what I was expecting in a Spider-Man movie, and it even exceeded those expectations. So like I'm well above that 7.5, and I put this as well like one of the best Marvel movies out there ever made. So I'm very excited about this movie, but of course that has bias between me being such a Spider-Man advocate, though.
Yeah, it's So for me, the first time I saw this movie, it's to preface it, we're living some crazy times and everything with this pandemic that's going on and everything. So venturing out into the movie theaters is a big thing, for a lot of people and stuff. I went to see Dune about a few weeks back. That was probably my first time in a theater in a while. Actually just watching a movie in a crowded, a really crowded theater and everything. So I'm good and everything, and everything went good as far as that experience. That was a good movie in itself. This experience here took me back to Endgame. It took me back to when the Avengers Endgame came out and everyone was in the show, and it was just like a stadium type atmosphere. You got cheers, you got woot woots and everything coming from the sides and stuff. When certain people came on screen and everything, and certain elements of the movie came, callbacks and stuff. You had that type of atmosphere, and you sort of get caught up in the moment and everything. When certain things just happen on screen, it's like whoa. And then when callbacks happen and stuff that reach back to other movies, I mean, it's no secret that the main villains in the movie are Green Goblin, Doctor Octopus, Electro, and also
you say Sandman.
Yeah, Sandman. Yeah, and the lizard and everything. So those are the Sinister Five. I was like, where's the sixth one? So that's just the five. So you had those elements in the movie and everything. And when each of those people got introduced on the screen and everything, it was like, just really great cheers from the crowd and stuff. So seeing it in that atmosphere really, I really felt that. I think I was caught up in the fact I was really happy to be in the show in the theater. I lived for those moments in the first weekend. I missed those times in the first weekend. Actually being in theater, seeing it in the crowds, getting crowd reactions and stuff, versus just seeing a movie at home, and you're really taking the movie in as what it is when you're at home and stuff, really dissecting it. But in the show, you're in a community type atmosphere and you get caught up in the moment. I love that. I love that about this movie, and I think that this versus like the end game portion, it took me back to that. Now, with that being said, I did go see it a second time. So the second time, which was today, I went to see it afternoon. It was like maybe 25% full and everything. And it was definitely not the same reactions as what I experienced in IMAX on Saturday, Friday night. It was different. So I don't think I was expecting. I was not expecting the same thing as what I expected the other night and everything, because it was a whole different weekday experience and stuff. You got what I got this time was murmurs from folks when certain elements of the movie came about, people came on the screen, callbacks came and everything. There was murmurs happening, like and I also figured that some of these people probably seen this a second time, just like I did and everything. and was just really taking in the movie as what it was. The experience as a movie, when I have to rank it, if you had put me on the spot Friday night after the movie, this was like equaling Endgame. It was equaling Endgame. It was like, I had my Endgame experience.
caught up in the moment.
I caught up in the moment. I had that Endgame experience.
That's how I was
right there.
Yeah.
Today,
I was there Friday.
Today it was okay. No, this is not better than Endgame.
Endgame was to another level, but
Endgame was 10
he has you now too.
I mean, I don't think Endgame's the best movie. I think it's the best theater movie. It's the best theater movie. Like,
I think it has the best ending. That's what I'll say. It has the best,
right.
the best 20 minutes.
Right. It has the best fight scene ever. Right. But I mean, for me, the best movie is still the Winter Soldier. But that's
there we go.
Everyone says,
but we're not talking about that now.
No, we'll get to that at the end.
That's a different stuff. That's a different topic. Let's stick to Spider-Man. Come on.
Yeah. If we're taking a Spider-Man, if I'm equal,
this is the best Spider-Man movie.
So I took my ratings down from that Endgame level down because I've watched certain elements in this movie that could have been a lot better, but it just was what it was based on what we got on screen and everything. T-Mitch and I was talking off mic, he was talking about, okay, it wasn't enough action. I'm like, okay, it was enough action for me. It was, I mean, if you got Spider-Man swinging through the air, him fighting the villains and everything, I mean, it was enough for me. But it was a step below Endgame.
Well, that's where it kind of takes away, and we can kind of get into the meat of it. I mean, like, villains, I felt like they downplayed too much of them. It's like, for like, we all know it, but for like a neutral, like, I mean, I'll just say this off the bat, and I discussed this with friends. This movie had to be a two-parter. It was a great movie. This had to be a two-parter. Before we get to the spoilers, I think there's a part where they should have stopped, and I think you guys all know where the first part should have stopped, and then we should have carried on to a part two. This is a perfect time, and it's my same gripe with Endgame. Endgame should have been a two-parter. They tried to squeeze too much in a little bit amount of time. Did they pull it off? Yeah, it was great. It's a phenomenal movie, but it could have been a two-parter because there's no action for, you know what I mean? Like, you saw Electro for, some point. You saw a little bit of Sandman. The fight scene at the end was cool, but I just thought there was like, missing that, you know what I mean? That kind of big battle that we all wanted to see. I don't know. Maybe
the five villains wasn't enough of a battle for you.
But I mean, you didn't see much of them. They were in, like they were kind of, in a situation for a while. The movie, you just
they were given the villain's life, a story, some dialogue, as opposed to, Thor 2 with with the villain just being there with five lines.
Right.
Maybe I was kind of expecting some like
I mean, come on,
like some Kal-El type, Superman type fights when he fought Zod, something like a little more like gritty, you know what I mean?
Well, this is first of all a Marvel movie, so they're not going to destroy an entire city unless it's an Avengers level threat. But I mean, if you look at it, I mean, come on, Jamie Foxx was written much better. He had a better performance now than he did when he was all blue.
Oh,
so, I mean, they did fix some things as well too. So
it was like you said, it was the best Spider-Man movie. I really liked it. It had like all elements in it. It takes you to an emotional roller coaster, as you guys said. I mean, I felt a lot of emotion in this. The big reveal was huge. Because I mean, I spoiled the movie 3 nights before. I won't tell you guys who, but there is a credible YouTuber out there that I will follow from now on who saw the movie as a premiere, like most people say. He went on YouTube, spoiled the movie, reviewed it. Everything he said was 1000% accurate. So I like to do that. I like to hear the movie and then watch it play in front of my.
That is crazy to me, man.
I can't even text Sam about if I watch something. I can't even text Sam. He blocks me.
Oh yeah. I put him in his place and everything. You better not say anything about this.
Yeah,
So,
I
so
spoil
you
it
so
before I see it.
you have to find out everything about it before you actually see it, huh?
I'm one of those guys. I like to put it
Uh,
together. Like when you see it in front of screen, like I'll watch the spoilers, and a lot of these guys will tell you everything. But everything he
Uh,
said was 100% accurate. I mean, for the most part, most of us kind of knew what was going to happen to some
mhm.
extent. But he put the movie, the acts together. I watched it, and then, like I said, I enjoyed it. Thoroughly enjoyed it. Spider-Man, all the Spider-Man series is up there at Captain America to me. They're just well-written movies. You
right.
know,
As a trilogy, those are the best.
oh
Like,
yeah, for
yeah,
sure, for
because
sure.
there's not because the weakest movie is still better than a lot of the other movies that
Correct. Yeah.
So,
Are you
I
but in
mean,
you
saying
guys
that
were
here,
talking about this Spider-Man trilogy? You're finding
yeah.
this is the best trilogy of movies?
Well, the Captain
I would say
America
Captain
series,
America
and then
best.
the Spider
But
Man.
yeah. I rank definitely. I rank Captain America's arc period over the MCU is hands down the best. So anything with him, to me, is like well above like the best written stuff. So yes, his arc throughout like the first 3 movies of his is definitely the
Now, I did want to touch on something you said earlier here about the novice, fan going to watch it. So I went to go watch Spider Man with my buddy. You know, he's been starting to get into Marvel movies, but he's not a fanatic. He hasn't even seen the other Spider Mans. So like for him, when the crowd goes crazy and nuts and is cheering and screaming, he's just like, well, what's going on? So I guess you get a better experience the more invested you are in these movies. But I mean, that goes in, going back to seeing all the Marvel movies in order
Right.
when they come out. So, but you just, you just get that better experience, if you're invested more. So,
how did he feel that since he didn't really have that background, was he like just like hyper confused when certain parts came up, or
no, he wasn't confused. And a lot of times I would like say, okay, this is this person, this is Electro. He's from Amazing Spider-Man 2, so I had to tell him, hey, this is from this universe. And so I would just let him know on that one because like he just sees all these different villains and he doesn't really know anything about them,
right?
backstories or anything like that. So
Hmm.
he hasn't seen, how Electro became Electro, how the lizard is the lizard and so forth like that. So,
Hmm.
so I do a little whistle. Hey, he's from Spider-Man 2. Hey, Green Goblin. He's from the original Spider-Man. Stuff like that. but he highly enjoyed the movie. Yes.
Okay.
And so
That's good.
he did. Yeah, he highly enjoyed the movie.
Yeah, I was always curious on like how it is for like super casual folks who just come into the movie not knowing anything about anything that happened previously and is able to
Mhm.
like connect with it. How did it like work? I don't have that type of perspective, so
Yeah.
I'm always curious to see how people
Right.
react like that.
Right. He liked it for the action, and the story
Right.
and the
Yeah.
dialogue. He
Did
got
he think
choked
it
up.
was enough action?
Yeah, he thought it was enough action. He got
I
choked
just
up a couple times, and that's how it works out.
Yes.
when I mean action, I mean there's a lot going on in the movie. I meant like fights, I guess, more battles. I was a little let down. I thought the battles were a little like eh.
So this movie was a lot more emotional than the other
Right.
movies. It's like the end of a trilogy type, just like our Endgame was. I mean, Infinity War and Endgame to me was a part 1 and part 2.
Yeah, oh
It
yeah,
was
that's one
always set up
movie,
to be
right?
like that. You
Right.
had your action in Infinity War, and then you had your Endgame stuff, that carry like the emotional impact of what happened in Infinity War. This here with No Way Home is a culmination of everything that this Peter Parker, went through ever since Homecoming. Okay, so I wasn't expecting it to be this big blown out like big setup action stuff. I was actually happy that it actually settled itself down. It actually pared itself down because the main characters really from the previous movies were Aunt May, Peter Parker, um,
I mean happy to some extent, I guess.
MJ. I wouldn't even say happy because he was like barely into like some stuff. And Aunt May and everything. MJ and then
Ned.
Ned.
Yeah.
Really, Ned, MJ, and Peter Parker. Those are your big three. Of
Right.
stuff.
Yeah,
And then
you're giving these characters depth.
yeah, they gave way more depth. We got really none of the high school stuff anymore. you know.
Right.
And that's one thing I'm sort of happy about. And I guess let's just start getting into spoilers and stuff.
Well,
So do
first
we take
off,
a pause? Cut it. Cut.
Yeah, yeah. So,
Right.
so if you've not seen this movie and like watching us, you can either
turn
continue
it
to
off.
watch us or go see the movie and come back because we'll be replaying.
Yeah.
So, spoilers ahead for Spider-Man: No Way Home. All right,
You were warned.
you were
You were
warned.
warned.
You were warned many times, even in the
Right.
description. Spoilers are ahead. So let's go.
Well, I'll just say that just to piggyback off what you just said, I'm now happy that he has his identity back as being a secret identity. I did like their character arc and the high school stage, but now they're coming back to adults. It kind of resets back into a general Spider-Man universe as to Peter Parker is a hidden identity. So I did like that callback and the tie-in to make his identity a secret identity. I thought that was like geniusly written, and I was so because it was just like the whole. And I'm not big on the Shang-Chi or Shang-Chi as we should say. I don't like how like Katie is like with him, and I like the heroes to have an identity to some extent outside of Steve Rogers,
There we go.
obviously, you know. So that's my thing. Like, I'm glad that he is like, who is Peter Parker, who is Spider-Man. I'd love to see how they write this because obviously I don't know, and that'll be the interesting thing, outside of everybody, I mean, he reset the multiverse, right? So I don't know. Does Dorf remember? I don't know how a spell affects a god. I don't know how this who really forgets him. So I'll be interested to see how it plays out. But I really liked how they kind of erased everything and made the Spider-Man to be secret identity again.
Right, you're right. Or do the Guardians of the Galaxy
Right?
like
That's
does
why I
it
don't
does it
know.
reach all the way out there? Like how
Yeah.
far does the spell reach?
Well,
Right.
we know before we get going, it doesn't reach Captain Marvel because she's OP and like she's in another. Remember, she's right now in another galaxy, so it wouldn't affect her.
Maybe. I mean,
but
I
but
don't
she
know
but
how
she's
far.
still in the same multiverse.
Yeah, yeah. I mean,
So who
technically it's
knows what
all the
it'll
same
say?
universe and
I
everything. So,
guess.
I mean, they need to explain those rules a little bit more. But
But
just the
they'll
pick.
cover it in just one sentence. We'll be
Yeah,
good.
yeah.
Yeah,
But
wait
Hey,
yeah,
till
it's a
till
blip.
me.
Just take it. Just
Yeah.
understand it was a blip.
but I do understand what you're saying there. The way they reset everything to where we're going to get in the future is just Peter Parker. We're going to get everything stripped down, bare down. No more Iron Man. No more tech suit and everything. You got Peter Parker and the end scene with him in the sewing machine and stuff. Back to classic Peter Parker stuff. And I'm excited to see that version of Peter Parker just going through New York City, not really having to go into space. I mean, if they ever decide to do that with him again, but just doing like some street Spider-Man stuff, having to deal with like maybe Craven the Hunter in the future, some classic stuff that we know of the grounded comic Spider-Man. The Spider-Man we got in this trilogy was an Avengers type Spider-Man.
It was the Iron Spider, right? That's what
Yeah,
this
Iron
was.
inspired. He was more
Yeah.
technical. He was more inspired by the Avengers. um, he was just beginning his career back from Civil War and everything. And he really never got into like just a solo Spider-Man type stuff. So this I'm glad they're sort of resetting everything to that point.
Right, and of course, going from the end scenes, they're setting up the black Spider-Man suit. That symbiote's going to make its way to
Ooh.
Spider-Man eventually. So
Right.
so set that whole storyline up.
I don't know
So
though. See, I'm kind of indifferent on like you said, DP though, because I kind of like the MCU Spider to kind of be the Iron Spider.
mhm.
Because, when, as we discussed, and we'll get into spoilers, so there are two other Spider-Mans in the movie, right? I just thought the Iron Spider was like a culmination of Marvel's version of him, so I can kind of appreciate that, and then him turning the page from the Iron Spider, but I just hoped he kept that suit, maybe, dulled it down. I kind of like the gold look. It was a different universe Spider-Man, so I
Uh-huh.
like that depiction of him being the Iron Spider, but obviously him shedding Stark's suit and Stark Tech makes you, kind of wonder where his future lies. I mean, he just signed on for 3 more movies after he threatened to quit. Um, Breaking news today, Andrew Garfield's representatives were talking to Marvel about him coming back, doing an Amazing Spider-Man 3, I'm just reading. So Sony and him are talking, and he's talked to Marvel about potentially bringing back his character because, in my opinion, I thought he stole the movie when he came in. And
Right, but but you got to look at it because he was written by MCU as
Right.
opposed to written by Sony.
Right.
So-
I mean,
Yeah, it was an interview that came out, I guess, around a week ago, a couple weeks ago, that after the Amazing Spider-Man 2 bomb, well, I'm not going to say bomb, it did okay, but not well enough compared to the other Spider-Man.
it was not received well.
It was definitely not received well, especially by me. I was like, what the heck is this?
Yeah.
But it was not received well. So Amy Pascal, like the producer of the movie, reached out to Kevin Feige saying, help, and that's what started everything on the trajectory of integrating, Spider-Man into like the MCU because they needed help with this character. On the popular character, it's like, what are you doing? The most popular character outside of like Batman and Superman, you don't know what to like do with them, so you're wasting time with the property. So Sony, got into bed with Disney Marvel and everything and created something genius and everything. So yeah, so you got all that, and I understand what you're saying, T-Mitch, about like the Iron Spider and everything. You got these different suits and stuff, but we and if you want to say indifferent, I kind of understand where you're coming from. If I'm assuming MCU was going to make better stories than what we got from Amazing Spider-Man, because those two movies were so mediocre, along with Spider-Man 3, that they have to come up with something better if they're going to strip this character down to his bare bones Spider-Man basics.
Well, that's why you got the symbiote coming. He's coming.
But he came before. He came before in the Spider-Man 3. He came before.
Yeah, but he wasn't even supposed to be in that movie. They kind of just wrote him in as a just a marketing ploy, basically. I mean, he wasn't.
Yeah. They shoehorned Avi Arad shoehorned him in that movie, and it should have been a Sandman straight movie. And it sort of failed, but if they're going to try to attempt to do this again, I'm assuming this is in great hands, being in it's in Kevin Feige's MCU universe.
Right, and you just have more to work with when you're in that universe, because you could bring in a Doctor Strange, you could bring in other characters, and that's what draws people. Like, oh, it's a cameo. Oh, who's going to be in this one? Oh, it's a cameo of Captain America doing a self-service announcement. We go crazy.
Do we feel that we in the future movies, is it necessary to bring like a Doctor Strange or an Avenger into like this Spider-Man movie? I mean, obviously he's not. Nobody remembers him anymore and everything. So is it going to be necessary for him to have his companions or whatever?
It's not necessary, but it just makes for good marketing and good,
I understand,
building of the story, as long as they're not a main character plot. I mean, they advertised this as Doctor Strange being in the whole movie, and he was only in for like the first, half hour, and then the last 5 minutes. He was barely in the movie.
Well, keep in mind,
look at every preview, Strange was in it.
They all know Spider-Man. They don't know Peter. That's the cool thing about the story. All the Avengers still know Spider-Man. They just don't know who's under the suit.
Mm-hmm.
So
right, Iron Man was the one who found him in the first place.
Right. So yeah, they'll all know. I mean, the Avengers will see Spider-Man and say, "Hey, Spider-Man." They just won't know it's Peter anymore. I think the interesting take is, as you said, the symbiote, because the symbiote obviously remembers Peter. They can, I guess, is the only beings that can see outside of this world and outside of different dimensions, as he said. But it kind of sets up to this villain actually being not an anti-hero like a Deadpool, but actually a true villain. Because I don't know if Tom Hardy and Eddie Brock in this universe exists, or if he attaches a Flash Gordon, or which comic book they decide to go with, who the symbiote attaches to before he gets to Spider-Man, if he gets to him, or if it's a true villain. Because I always said that you can't have a Venom anti-hero and a Deadpool anti-hero in the same universe. It just doesn't work. So
I mean,
well, then you got to be curious, like, how does, like, so in Morbius, what comes out next month, the Vulture's in, Michael Keaton's in the Morbius, and he talks about Venom. So, like, what kind of storyline does Michael
Exactly.
Keaton have in that movie?
In the trailers we seen like Spider-Man in the back, as like murder on a wall.
Murderer, right?
So we know that Spider-Man exists there somewhere, despite him saying that I don't think he really said that there's no superheroes. I think Tom Hardy's, Eddie Brock was saying that there's a bunch of colorful superheroes or something like that,
right.
So they have to clean that up and clear that up a bit because he went back to his world, right? That's how that post-credit scene.
He's back in his universe.
He's back in where Morbius is in because Morbius even mentions Venom.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
it'll be interesting, because you have the Sony verse, then you have the the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Maybe there's that 5 minutes of Morbius where he's in the Spider-Man universe.
Yeah, I
mean, it would be nice to see him. I mean, that Morbius looks good, so I'm interested.
I'm nervous.
I'm definitely there to see that. Well,
but I'm nervous of what Sony does.
They don't have a Kevin Feige, but I mean they're on the right direction. So at least they admit that they needed help. So we'll see what they come with that. I wasn't too enamored with the Venom, the Carnage Venom. I mean, I thought that movie was just below average, except for probably the end of that movie. But I mean they're trying. I mean it's not MCU stuff, but I guess just like let's get back to the No Way Home. How about the whole reveal of Daredevil? I mean,
Charlie. That's the first part that had me because I avoided most of the spoilers. I mean, you knew the Spider-Man were going to be. You knew Tobey Maguire was in it. You knew Andrew Garfield was in it. I wasn't like I didn't hear I heard Charlie Cox maybe in it, but I didn't get any confirmation or anything. So when I finally saw him, I was like, yes, that was the only time that I really screamed.
Yeah,
the person I was with was like,
same here,
why?
Same here.
I was like,
same here.
I was like, that's Daredevil. That's Daredevil.
Oh yeah. Oh my.
So it's great that that's bringing in Daredevil, and Hawkeye is obviously bringing in Kingpin. So it's good that these characters are getting their due.
Yeah, coming over from the Netflix universe and everything over into this. I was very happy to see Charlie Cox, Matt Murdock in there and him catching the brick, and Peter just like, how did you do that? I'm ready. Now, if you want to talk about, if you're talking about a teaser for the next movie, I would definitely not be opposed for Daredevil to be in next Spider-Man movie. That would be awesome. On a street level, that would be just straight crazy. Just have him in the next Spider-Man movie, teaming up. I mean, because it's classic Daredevil Spider-Man comic book stuff right there.
Yeah.
Right. Absolutely. Because I mean, you could easily bring in Daredevil and Spider-Man, but I don't see them being in the same movie at all. I mean, I don't. I think it's going to be a long time before a Daredevil movie comes out, even before they even start doing a Daredevil movie.
Yeah.
I think this was just to appease. This was just to appease the fans, It's a while. There's no talks of it, so.
Yeah, I mean,
you got to bring in the X-Men first. The X-Men are coming first.
They don't necessarily have to do a Daredevil movie. Just have Daredevil in it. I mean, he exists. He already had his Netflix stuff, so he does. It's not necessary to have another Daredevil movie or even another TV show. For that matter and everything. Just have him in a movie, suit up, swinging there with his baton and everything, and everybody knows who he is and everything, and swing back out, or defend, or have Matt Murdock defend him on something, I mean, it's a way you can do it. Again. He said, I'm a really good lawyer.
I'm a really good lawyer. Classic. I mean, it's just an instant classic.
So we had that, that reveal and everything, and then we had some callbacks. So when the villain started being introduced, we had in my showing, I don't know about you, Duche, we had some really great crowd reactions. I was a little disappointed when Electro showed up. He didn't really get a great crowd reaction in my show. The Willem Dafoe got his, Doc Ock got his and everything. Sandman got his to a degree and everything, but when Electro came, it was just like, I mean, was he that bad in Amazing Spider-Man that you just like, okay, you know?
I mean, he really was that. He was pretty bad in that movie.
Yeah.
I mean, that's no fault on Jamie Foxx, of course, because how great of an actor he is, as we all see. But he was not written well in that movie at all.
Yeah.
At all.
Yeah, it was one of those things. He cleaned the character up, but it was like the damage was already done. You know what I mean? They fixed him. They fixed the character. He looked better, but it was just like it was too late. You know?
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. I mean, you got to look at it. Did Sandman get any reaction? Did the Lizard get any reaction?
No, I mean
the people are already checked out of those Spider-Man movies.
Yeah, I mean the best thing that was in them was probably the Andrew Garfield and what's her name, Emma Stone, you know, but those were just some badly written Spider-Man movies, you know.
Yeah.
To the point where you just was like, okay, don't do any more of these. You know, and everyone was just so happy that MCU got got a hold of that and everything. So yeah, that was one of my big things with, like, you know, Charlie Cox's Daredevil coming. Another big thing, obviously, I mean, you had your the latter third of the movie had our guys, the Spider-Man, you know, the big reveal.
They got the biggest reaction. I mean, Tobey Maguire got the biggest reaction in my theater.
Yeah, that was really it. It was like that. Like I said, that was your Endgame moment. You know, it was like the big kind of reveal. I thought that really like opened the movie up, and it was cool. It was well done how they kind of pulled him. You know, but
right. That was your Captain America picking up Thor's hammer moment.
Yeah.
I don't want to get into that either. Come on.
Shut your mouth. That was such a great inspiration.
It was a good it was a good experience. I said that. The last 20 minutes was cool. It's just like the movie's just a bad version of Time Heist. And you know, and then looking into this movie, you know, so let's get back to this, right? So the spell, it's happened, okay? So now we're in the multiverse, right? So we're not doing a time heist, so we're now in the multiverse, which is similar. I'm curious to see, you know, with kind of Peter and Strange kicking this off, how this all moves forward. I mean, you know, people forgot, and then now we're going forward with essentially a B grade cast of heroes, you know, reliving a different villain. You know, when we watch this movie, and you know, me and DP will always talk about this. Like, I'll get these flashbacks, and it goes just even back to it ties back into Endgame. Like, and then we've obviously the Eternals came out. The more you hear these stories, like, I just can't get over the fact that Thanos is an Eternal, and he just gets wiped out easy. You know, when you talk about like power levels, that kind of still irks me when you find out who he is, what he is, and I'm like, so he's an Eternal, right? And then we go back to Captain Marvel. So she cleans him up like that, and she's just, I don't know. Yeah, it's just one of those things. When I found out he's an Eternal, it just completely turned my whole aspect of how everything works.
I think with the whole Thanos and Eternal thing, I think they you find out he's an Eternal in the comics. You don't really find that out in the movies.
You find out in the Eternals movie.
They say he was an Eternal in the Eternals movie.
Yeah,
I don't remember saying that.
She says it. Selma Hayek's character talks about it.
That Thanos was an Eternal.
Yes, he's an Eternal. So is his brother.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Yeah.
Star brother was in the end.
Fox. Yeah. Okay. All right. Yeah. I mean that movie.
Why I'm like.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm interested to see, like, because this all kind of happens at the same time frame, right?
Yeah, for the most part. Yeah.
I mean, Spider-Man takes happen literally, like, I guess, on the other half of the world as this event just happened.
When you talk about B-cast, what are you referring to? B-cast set of heroes.
So you got.
Well, you don't have your Captain America.
Yeah,
they're
going to do this. Yeah.
You don't have your Thor.
Do we remember when the MCU first began? When Iron Man
was a B character.
All of those characters were B characters. B-cast characters.
I mean, Captain America was a B-cast.
Captain America, Iron Man,
okay,
Thor.
so Shang-Chi is going to pass these guys? That's what you're
I'm not.
saying, right?
Who knows? But Thor was in the same position as Shang-Chi, especially when the Thor: Dark World came out. Who cared about Thor?
Yeah,
You
I
know,
like
mean,
Shang-Chi.
no,
for the
and come
movie.
on, when Guardians of the Galaxy came out, did anybody know
nobody
all 5
knew
members of the
except us
Guardians
comic
of the
fans.
Galaxy? Right?
Yeah. So you're talking about these are B cast. So they have to go through their trial. I mean, you got 10 years of history with the MCU to where Endgame came and they rose up to the A-list and everything.
Mm-hmm.
Shang-Chi,
Yeah.
Eternals and stuff just came out. So we're just now being introduced to these characters. Right now, I think they came out, especially Eternals, came out really below. I mean, that to me, that movie was not that great at
When I
all.
say like B-list as well, like as we grew up, right? I remember seeing the Captain America shield. I remember seeing Iron Man's logo. Like I don't know Shang-Chi's logo.
Right.
There wasn't a
Yeah,
Black
I didn't know.
Panther.
I didn't know
I mean,
anything about
there
Ten
wasn't a
Rings.
Black Panther logo. There wasn't. You know what I mean? You knew a little bit
Yeah,
of Thor because
Yeah.
of the
Now
hair and
there
the
is
helmet.
yeah,
now coming out though on the A-list side, the Fantastic Four, they're an A-lister, and
they are A-list.
they're right around the
You know
corner.
what? I was
The
hoping they
C-list
announced it.
movies.
Yeah, I wasn't hoping they announced that Reed Richards bought the Avengers Tower, and that's kind of a time with Hawkeye.
I'm
I was
hoping
hoping
that's
they
still the
said that.
case. I'm
It
still
has to
hoping
be.
that's the case.
It has to be because
Right.
that is
No,
Avengers Tower.
Either that or the Kingpin did.
I know. I was
Uh,
worried about if the Kingpin did, but it has to be Reed Richards, right? It has to
right.
be, right?
Yeah.
But
I,
as
I
we're tying this together, do you think?
Or Victor Von Doom.
Yeah. Do you think that they can exist, with Spider-Man? I mean, because I know they've done mix-ups. I'm at the point to where, like, let them just do their solo movie. It doesn't have to be an Avengers mix-up. Same thing with the X-Men, and we'll get into that on another show. Let the
Mhm.
mutants stay in their own universe. Don't try to do, like, in a whole, like, Avengers Elect where you have mutants and superheroes. Let them just live separate. Do
Oh, you
X.
know that mashup is coming 10
I
years
don't
Yeah,
from
want it.
now.
I know.
so here's why. T-Mitch, here's why I agree with that. Avengers have I'm sorry, X-Men has so much history, background, and all that stuff, and rich characters that you cannot mix that with the Avengers and have it
Correct.
be any type
Right.
of success.
Correct.
They do need to be on their own in their own separate universe.
Correct.
Well, I'm not going to say separate universe, but their own separate stories.
Right.
In order for that to build up and be effective. I think
Right.
what we're seeing right now is a mixture of things being already developed and out and had to be put out there, with like Shang-Chi, Eternals, Black Widow, all that stuff was already in the mix by the time Marvel had bought out or Disney bought out the Fox characters. They didn't really have any plans with them and they're just now putting those plans together. So I expect after this phase 4 is what they're calling done, then
Right.
we'll end up seeing more of like the Fantastic Four, X-Men stuff really come into like the picture. We're not going to see.
You may see the Fantastic Four before that though. Before that.
Yeah. They announced Fantastic Four. Yeah,
Yeah.
they announced it.
So
Yeah.
the Fantastic Four is going to be in this phase somewhere with Kang the Conqueror, right?
Right.
Well, Kang's probably going to be the final villain, I imagine. So, I
Yeah.
mean, it's the perfect setup, right? They kill Kang, the timeline explodes. That's when, the Fantastic Four is in space. I'm sure that hits their ship, which causes their powers. Think about it, how you can tie it together, right?
Right.
Timeline explodes, it snaps back into place, they're in space, it hits their ship, they gain their powers. Because, I mean, they've already had their perfect time with the multiverse that opened up. Scarlet Witch can be on the MCU or the mutant side. I mean, they've already opened it up, so they did a great job once again with how they opened this multiverse of madness, as we call it, moving forward. I mean, you can do both now. You can have mutants. You can go to this multiverse. You can go to this dimension. You can go to this universe. They've really opened it up like an open book. And I'm excited to see where it goes. I'm excited to see where Peter's story goes as well. I mean, there's 3 more solo movies, and we know that there are confirmed 2 more cameos of Tom Holland in other movies that were before he
Yeah.
signed that new 3-picture deal. So,
And I'm just excited. I'm so excited that he got his original suit. I mean,
yeah.
not the old,
Oh, that the rusty looking,
yeah,
yeah,
not that one, but the real version of
the high blues, yeah,
the
like
blue
that.
and
Yep.
red, yeah.
Red. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
when he came swinging on that outfit, I mean that I had
Yeah.
goosebumps when that happened.
So
That brings me back. I mean, I love the color of that black and red suit, but that original. I mean, no, come on, that's the original suit.
Did anybody catch that Rogers the musical billboard?
Yeah. I'm just waiting for them to make that because I'm going to go see that musical.
Oh yeah, that needs to be in like the Avengers, like it needs to be in one of the Disneyland, Disney World, attractions and stuff, like the whole show. Just go ahead and just get it done. But getting back to like the Spider-Man movie, like the reaction to those three, like Tobey Maguire, Tom Holland, and Andrew Garfield all together, was it really brought a good emotion to me as far as like the latter part of the movie, when you had all three of those together. Andrew Garfield was acting his butt off. Toby, he came in there as like the fatherly type, Spider-Man, and Tom Holland, Peter Parker, he was more like, okay, just looking up to like the other two, but still actually putting them all together. I like the fact that they first acknowledged that they don't work well solo, or at least the other two from the other universes. But Tom Holland said, I work with the Avengers, so I know how to work as a team. So you do this, you do that. So I was really happy that of the chemistry between those three Spider-Men, because it could have been a disaster, putting them all together from different franchises. We know about their backgrounds from the previous movies and stuff, and the baggage they carry. Andrew Garfield Spider-Man carried the baggage of Gwen Stacy's death. Tobey Maguire Spider-Man, it never got resolved with like, the Mary Jane thing and everything. So
and Uncle Ben,
Uncle Ben's murder.
Right. And then we get and just seeing all that mixed together, it was such a good in-game type moment for me.
Yeah,
I love the interactions between the Spider-Mans, of them just engaging with each other. I mean, just that playful banter that Spider-Man has. Especially I loved it when like they're comparing their web shooters, and then Tobey Maguire shoots it right out of them. They're just like, where is that coming from? How do you? And then like 10 minutes later, like, how does that develop in you? Bringing that up,
I mean, because that was a big thing. Where else do you shoot them from? I was just like, I mean, like, yeah. I thought, I mean, it was, and it also, as we talk about, and DP's big into this, and the tropes and whatnot, but it showed you kind of the parallels of the age of Peter and what he can become, and I like that kind of like. You have Tom Holland as like the teenage one. You have Andrew, who's more of like a mid-20s, and then you have Toby, who's made an elder Spider-Man, and it kind of showed Peter through through life stages, and I like how they tied that together as far as the characters and the knowledge to kind of reel him back in.
Yeah, it was a good way for Tom Holland Peter, to see himself in the other two, and like the like you said, the stages of what he may eventually end up going through, and what the other Peter said that they don't want him to go through. The whole anger thing with him beating up Green Goblin at the end. That was just such a classic scene, him versus the Green Goblin. That was Willem Dafoe at his finest, acting.
Right. How great is William Dafoe as the Green Goblin?
Yeah.
Come on, that's such a great mix.
Classic.
That's how it should be, right?
And then
just
Toby,
the way he talks, yeah.
And then Toby comes in to save Tom Holland Peter from killing him and everything, and just the look on Tobey Maguire's face, from that, to look at Tom Holland Peter, and just to really convey a look instead of actually saying words, to convey how wrong it would have been for Tom Holland Peter to kill the Green Goblin and everything. So it was a really great, like you said, Duche, it was a really great way for them to put the chemistry together and interact with the banner. I would have loved more banter than actually action with them three, just discussing their versions of Peter in each universe. Like, I do this, oh, you do this, I do this. That was classic stuff to me.
Right, Andrew Garfield going, you guys fought aliens? I want to fight an alien.
Yeah. He said, I'm sorry, I'm still going back. You actually been into space,
Yeah,
That's just amazing thing.
Just those banter, and like, and then them explaining, the trials and tribulations that they went through, and they're all, Garfield talking about, Gwen Stacy and, Tobey Maguire and his Uncle Ben, like, hey, and of course the tragic scene. God rest her, God rest Aunt May, man, Aunt May.
Oh yeah, we didn't even mention that. Yeah,
That's like, man, the way they put her out, that was kind of like similar to like Primrose, right? In Hunger Games, like, you get hit with a grenade, man. The grenade just knocks him down. He's savage for that. I'll say that. The Green Goblin is savage.
yeah,
Oh yeah.
He's savage.
I don't know if I necessarily like Aunt May dying. I know they had to have like, I guess they felt they had to have some sort of tragedy in the movie, but I don't necessarily. I was attached to her being Aunt May.
Yeah.
You get a younger.
Somebody had to go though. Somebody had to go.
You're right,
Somebody,
yeah.
but I
Somebody
guess
had to go.
if somebody had to go,
Somebody had to go. Right.
And we
And
never got
if Happy goes, nobody cares.
He'll just go back to making Star Wars. It's nothing to him.
Right.
Oh yeah.
And they can't kill off MJ or Ned because they're part of the end the end scene.
Yeah.
So they can't kill him off. So somebody's got to go.
It wasn't gonna be Flash, man. They weren't killing that Flash.
No, he might even get the symbiote. Who knows?
That's what I'm thinking. They're probably attached to him.
Please don't give it to that guy, man. Just bring
He
another.
got it in
in
the
there.
comics.
Yeah. I remember that. But yeah, Aunt May dying. I wasn't necessarily too particular on, but like you guys said, someone had to go, and it did propel Peter to this movie sort of like made Peter grow up. He was like in high school. He met the Spider-Man and everything, seen the versions of himself in those men and everything, and found himself at the end having to grow up to be like a better adult character and everything, and thus being stripped down. Now he has to go about life on his own. No Aunt May, no Uncle Ben. I don't think it's really confirmed that Uncle Ben is dead in this universe either.
Well, he just left Aunt May. Come on, he ain't leaving Aunt May.
I don't know.
Who's gonna leave Aunt May?
We never seen a body.
Yeah.
It's been implied that something happened between him and her, Aunt May and Uncle Ben.
They just didn't have to do that whole story over again. That's all.
I understand, but I mean, you never know where these things may go. So, but Peter's all alone in the end. And he's going to have to go through his trials and tribulations as an adult, in a different way now. But
I mean, I think this just sets up perfectly for the Hobgoblin now.
I would love the Hobgoblin to come through.
100%. It sets up. Spider-Man 4 should be about the Hobgoblin, and then you'll get your little teaser of, because you can't have him. I mean, I guess you can, depending on, because we kind of discussed this. What's the setting for Spider-Man 4? It's going to have to happen after this Phase 5, which will be after Kang. So who knows?
Mm-hmm.
He'll be an adult at that point. So
yeah,
I would love to see.
I'm kind of curious of what you said. If Andrew Garfield, if they're trying to make him come back and as their own, or if they end up doing like a separate, that would just be odd. Doing it amazing.
Are we going to have two Spider-Mans going on at the same time again? Like we don't need this, Sony.
Well,
we don't need this, Sony.
He reached out to Marvel, it says about it, and Disney about in it, and they said that they were open to doing more scenes with all three of them together. So in this article,
put him in a cartoon. Put him in the next multiverse cartoon with Miles Morales.
You know what's funny? Did you get the Miles Morales hint from Jamie Foxx?
Oh yeah.
Are there any black Spider-Man?
I'm sure it's a black Spider-Man somewhere in this universe. Yeah,
I heard the theater go, yeah, Miles Morales.
That got a pretty big laugh from the crowd. How about when Andrew Garfield, when he saved MJ, that got like a really great reaction from my crowd.
Right, it's like his redemption moment.
Yeah, that was a redemption moment and everything. People were looking around like, oh, what's going on with that? No, if you had seen Spider-Man 2,
right.
It's
right.
a
Well, yeah,
it was.
Right. Like my buddy was like, why is this such a big deal? It's like, this is his redemption moment,
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But if we're giving overall rankings of the movie, I think you guys gave yours or earlier and stuff. But
well, he said 7.5. I'm going at least 8.5.
8.5. Well, on a Spider-Man, it's the best. So I mean, if you
it's the best
rank
Spider-Man.
if it's just Spider-Man, it is 8.5.
So okay, if we're ranking Spider-Man movies, and we're counting the Tobey Maguire ones, where would you rank this movie?
This would be 1, and Spider-Man 2 would be number 2.
Yeah, this is a 10 for sure. If this is just Spider-Man,
this is the pinnacle of the Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Okay. So
this is like the Endgame. It brings it all together.
It does.
It brings
this
all
is
the
Endgame.
Spider-Man together.
That's what Endgame should have been.
Spider-Man Endgame.
So were you that down on Endgame? Wow, man.
I just thought it was a cheap. You know what it is? It was a two-parter. It was just too rushed. It's not a bad
It was already
movie.
a two-parter. They did the Infinity War.
Yeah, they did Infinity War.
They can't make it a three-parter.
No, you really think Endgame couldn't have been cut into two? I thought this movie could have been cut into two. I thought
so if you talk about the end point, should have been when the Spider-Man came.
I thought when Aunt May should have died, they should have cut it.
I was gonna say I bet he's talking about when Aunt May died.
Yeah, they should have cut it. But you could have developed the movie before then. Like there wouldn't have been enough runtime, but they could have ran it, and then that Peter's tragedy, boom.
I felt that would have been unnecessary, and that would have been just a more money grab than anything else. I mean, I
don't know, man. I thought that would have been great.
I think
some of these.
I think with the runtime, I mean, it was.
And plus, it's just it's just a Spider-Man movie. I mean, it's not an Avengers level threat.
I don't know. Based on the numbers, though, you could have two-parted. Come on, you see what his numbers are doing right now? It's ridiculous.
Right. That's why they're green-lighting another Spider-Man movie. Right. Like, let's get back in the studio. Let's go.
I definitely could have used more Tobey Maguire, Andrew Garfield stuff. So if they want to do a Spider-Man movie, find some way to put that together. I mean, I'm down for that. I like that team. I do like that team.
Right, but then you don't want to start getting redundant on your stories, and you try to bring them back again.
I can see that. I mean, just because it's like you said, Duche, money grab and everything. You will see, okay, they're trying to just bring them back just because. So right. I mean, they would literally have to, if they're going to do it the MCU type of way, they would literally have to establish them again in their own movie before they brought them back together.
And we don't need that. We don't need that.
And there's too much going on anyway. And like you said before, I don't trust Sony.
Right. Yeah, you can't trust Sony. Don't give Sony that power.
So you would trust DC over Sony? That's a good one, isn't it?
That's another show.
At least, that's a whole nother show. But at least Sony has a better understanding with what they got going on, teaming up with Disney than DC as anything that's going on right now.
Tell me who the directors are.
Right. The only thing that's close to this that's coming up with DC is probably the Flash. So we'll see how that comes out, because I'm sort of excited about that movie to see how they're going to do the characters with Michael.
All the
Keaton,
different Batmans.
Yeah, the Batman's coming and everything.
Yeah, let's get a Batman mix up.
That's what we're going with.
Yeah. So DC.
I'm excited for that though.
Multiverse. Yeah.
We're all excited about it. When any comic book movie comes out, we're excited.
All right, that's what the nerd.
Right, that's what we do, right? Like the Eternals, we knew that wasn't going to be good, but we went out and saw it.
Yeah.
Actually, that's the first Marvel movie I fell asleep in. I'm not gonna lie.
It was long, and it was.
I slept for about 20 minutes.
It was long.
I fell asleep with Icarus shooting his eye beams, and I think I woke up when Icarus was still shooting his eye beam.
That was funny.
That was the movie. But you know what? I mean, to be honest, so I'm not like an Endgame hater. It's a top 5 movie, but I just thought Civil War was 1, Infinity War was number 2. Infinity War was crazy. That was just
Winter
crazy.
Soldier is number 1.
I'm sorry, Winter Soldier is 1. Yeah, Winter Soldier was 1, Infinity War 2, and then I'm gonna go Civil War 3. I just thought, Civil War was so. And Captain America just stole the show for me. He really did. His movies are just like.
Yeah, his movies. I mean, like I said, his whole arc is wonderful. These Spider-Man movies with Tom Holland, they created a really great arc with them.
And they made such great villains. Like who knew you could make Mysterio that well?
Right.
Jake Gyllenhaal
Right.
killed it as Mysterio.
Killed it.
Yeah.
Killed it as Mysterio.
Yeah.
And then Michael Keaton as the Vulture. I mean,
Yeah. So the
Spider-Man
Vulture will
has
be
this
the sixth
plethora
Sinister
of
Six,
villains.
right? The
What's
Vulture
that?
makes number 6.
Yeah, he's original.
So he'll
Vulture
be
was
the
one of the
final
original
member of the
Sinister
Sinister
Six.
Six.
Yeah.
Because they hinted towards a Rhino, but they're not going to bring him back. So,
No.
you know, the Vulture can come back as a sixth.
So I think they were. I think if they were talking about 6 villains, knowing who Peter was and everything, I think they were counting the Venom as like the 6th one, even though technically he wasn't. But
Right.
because the symbiote knows everything that happens in the universe and he knows Peter, technically he was like one of the ones or whatever.
What are you talking about? The 6th villain was J. Jonah Jameson. Didn't you know that?
You're
That
right.
was the leader. That was the
That was
6th one.
he's like the
That was the
oh
leader.
yeah. Can't forget about old JJJ, you know.
Right.
But yeah, this was it was a 10 for me, you know. It was I would say 9.5, you know, edging towards a 10. It wasn't as great as Endgame, you know, but it was a very solid movie for me. I'm very happy for the arc that it went from the Homecoming all the way up to this movie, which was a much better arc than what we got in the first Sam Raimi movies, because that third movie destroyed everything, and we never got a third movie out of the Andrew Garfield movies and stuff. Thank God. You know? But this completed a real this completed a really good arc for the Tom Holland stuff, and it ended off. It stuck the landing for me. You know, as a trilogy, it's very hard
there's
to
a lot
stick
of
the
depth,
landing.
a lot of depth in this movie.
Yes. Yeah.
Right. So it wasn't all action. It was a lot of depth in it.
There was. That's what I was saying. I wasn't saying the movie was bad. It wasn't all action, like like your Endgame's Infinity War. There was a ton of depth, which made a great story. Like I said, I thought this is probably one of Marvel's best written movies as far as like the way they put it together, the tie-in. Because I mean, granted, Endgame was good. It was long too. This movie was 2 hours and 20 minutes, and it was.
Right.
I was in there and out, and I was like, man, that didn't, the pacing. I was like, I could have went for another 15 minutes, maybe.
Yeah.
I still got some in me. Let's go.
You know what I'm saying?
Give me some more Spider-Man and everything.
That's the worst when you leave and you're like, man, I just wanted like 10 more minutes. Like, you know what I mean?
Just give me a little more, a little more.
Before we end this, how are we feeling about that Doctor Strange trailer at the end?
I'm stoked for it, man. I just hope they don't. It's opening up the multiverse, so it's like really the first Phase 5 movie. This is the end of Phase 4, so this was Doctor Strange was supposed to end Phase 4, but due to coronavirus, they're even reshooting this to kind of fit into Phase 5, because that's the only thing I'm worried about. If you've heard, I mean, they're doing heavy reshoots for this more Doctor Strange movie.
I've heard about that.
I don't know if that's a good thing, if it's a bad thing. I'm just guessing they're just changing it to fit now in the new Phase 5 to kind of kick that off.
I'm excited. You know, you got WandaVision. You got Wanda coming back from her thing and stuff. We got the Dark Doctor Strange from the What If. I'm like, okay, they're tying some What If stuff into this.
All right.
You know. So we got Rachel McAdams coming back. I mean, they've clearly got a direction now, with the second Doctor Strange movie. And I've known, like, you talking about B-cast characters. Doctor Strange has been a character I've never cared about.
Exactly.
Right. But they make him interesting,
Yeah.
They put a perfect guy to cast as him, just as they did with Iron Man. The Iron Man comics, they were okay, but they weren't like mainstream. And then Robert Downey Jr. changed the entire landscape of everything. And then Benedict Cumberbatch, he's a perfect Doctor Strange. Like, how do you fit these characters so well? It's amazing how it's just like, this is the perfect character for this person. I can't see anything else but him now.
Well, it's a perfect story too, because you got the multiverse of madness and some crazy stuff. We got, like I said, Wanda, in the movie. I think pairing them up with other established characters is a really great way to sell the movie, like you were saying earlier and everything. So we got these characters that people are familiar with that is growing up, and it's a really great way to just sell the movie. It sold me as soon as you had, first of all, you had me a multiverse. I'm always excited about like craziness in the multiverse.
You had me at Marvel.
Well, Eternals is Marvel too.
So happy. They still got my money.
They still got my. You are so
money.
right. They still got my money.
They still got my money.
Take my money. So
right. They still got my money.
But I was feeling really good, about the Doctor Strange. I can't wait till May. I think that's when it's coming out.
I don't. Let me pull up the new effect. The dates have changed again. I'm pretty sure it's a May slate.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's in the beginning of May, like first week of May or whatever.
Yeah, I don't think we have any other. I don't think we have any other Marvel stuff that comes out before then, right?
Morbius.
No.
Not MCU.
Right.
MCU,
No, nothing MCU. No.
Yeah,
No, they're going back on their like what their three to
the
4
new date
movies a
actually
year.
is moved to March 25th, 2022.
Even better.
So yeah, March 25th is the date of Multiverse of Madness.
Oh
yeah. Isn't Guardians coming out or Ant-Man coming out in May? Which one's coming out in May?
Ant-Man's pushed out to 2023. Guardians 3 is 2023. Thor's 2022. Black Panther is 2022.
There's not a movie coming out in May for Marvel?
There has. I think it's the Doctor Strange movie.
Let me see. I'm pulling it up now. It has their dates because they just changed it last 2 weeks ago. They changed the movie slate. Yeah.
I mean,
I'm on IMDb right now. It says expected May 6th.
Is that the final date now? Because I know they changed it recently.
Yeah, I think the original was in March. They moved it to May.
Okay.
Yeah, so I think that's what we're looking at. So we don't have any MCU stuff. So we're going to be kind of starving. But we got some good stuff. We still got Batman coming out in March. We still got Morbius coming out in January. We got
that Batman. Ooh,
I'm sure something's got to be coming out in February. I don't know, but
this is DC's last chance with Batman for me.
There.
This is DC's last chance. They have to. It looks good. Please don't mess it up. That's my call to DC. Please don't ruin it. He looks like Sinister. He looks like a cool Batman. Please don't mess this up. This is your last strike with me. It is.
Yeah.
I mean, I think we were on here talking about 1984. I mean, you're already in the mud.
The only thing I'm worried about the Batman is that it doesn't repeat like the Chris Nolan's beats and stuff.
Well, keep in mind though, we talk about how bad they are. When you see that final credit, he's executive producer. Regardless of what he says, his involvement, your name's on it, bro. His name's on every. Yeah, but his name's on it. I will be damned if I'm putting my name on those movies.
Interesting.
Yeah, he's the executive producer for like the DC verse, except he's just so busy with his own projects that he doesn't really like get his fingers in it.
Right. Just give me the checks.
Exactly. He's just collecting checks. Yep. He's just
Right.
All right.
He doesn't even see the director's cut of that. He doesn't see that. Nah.
He's like, who's Zack Snyder? There's a cut. Yeah, go ahead. Make sure my name's on it and release it. Go ahead.
All right. So, any final words about the No Way Home movie? Anything anybody want to say about it before we wrap it up?
I think to wrap it up, I mean, just my final is if you're a neutral, if you've never seen the ones before it, like I said, it's a movie that you don't have to necessarily know the whole Spider-Man story from start to finish. It's a great movie to watch, highly entertaining, has all aspects. If you talk about how a movie's written, your climax, your the grief a character gets, a hero gets, his redemption story. I mean, it's a 10 as far as a movie. It's a 10 as far as a Spider-Man movie. I would highly recommend anybody to go see it for a casual person or a highly intense nerd like we are.
I 100% concur with everything he said. I mean, being like I said, Spider-Man being my favorite character, this movie is just written so well. Like just the arc of the movie is just like there's everything you expect Spider-Man to go through, and the emotions and it puts you on that roller coaster. You have your ups and your downs. You have your goosebump moments. You have your oh yes moments. You have your clapping moments. You have your tears. I mean, it brings together everything, and just the theater experience, just being able to, see everybody being in the theater all at one time again. Yeah. I mean, just right. the atmosphere alone,
right?
And just having everybody be on the same page and having that that end game moment again. Just everybody screaming and yelling. And it's an experience.
Yeah.
And, so it's always a 10 for me when it comes to Spider-Man.
I 100% agree with both of what you guys said. For the whole for this movie, it makes you really appreciate even more the Tobey Maguire, Andrew Garfield stuff, and it makes those movies, they weren't, it's not like they weren't relevant before, but sort of bringing their storylines into like the MCU, sort of like bringing that history and everything into this. If you watch those movies before and bring them all the way, and bring them and bring it all the way to this movie, it makes the whole story stand as a whole. So it was a really great thing for me and a great experience, like you said, Duche, into this. So yeah, if you guys are going out, to see this, make sure that is this next weekend is coming up. It's probably going to be another crowded weekend. At the show and everything, you're probably going to get some really great, theater experience. Just enjoy yourself. It's a really good, it's a really, really, really good movie and a really good Christmas movie. It's not a Christmas movie, but it's a really good feel good movie for this season and everything. So, we're out, at the Nerd Comic Flicks show. Thank you guys for like joining us. Make sure that you are again, following us at Nerd Cyclopedia on all our social platforms, and just make sure that you're giving everyone some good love and everything this holiday season and stuff. If you want to just leave it at that. Thank you guys, T-Mitch. Thank you guys for joining me tonight. Duche, thank you for joining us. Talking about this really good movie. And as we say over in Carbonac Bounty BS, this is the way.
This is the way.
This is the way.